Hello and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the Algebra 1 concept of quadratic functions, specifically how we can write them when given either the solutions or the graph, and we'll do it in 5 minutes or less. So when we're dealing with quadratics, we've got three forms that we're most likely going to be using, either the standard form, the vertex form, or the factored form. This is the one that we are going to be using because of these u and v. So when we know that f of x equals 0, so when our dependent variable is 0, then we know our x is going to be u, and then the x is going to be v. These are our two x-intercepts, or our zeros, or solutions here. So how do we take that knowledge and turn it into an equation in the standard form? Well, take a look at what we have here. We've got two zeros right here. So we've got -2 and we've got 3. All right, so we can use that information and we can say, well, we'll say u is going to be -2. That's one of our zeros. And we can say v is going to be 3. That's one of our zeros. Okay? So then we could write it like this. We can say f of x equals a, which that's what we need to figure out. And then x, and I've got minus v and minus u. And so really it's a minus -2. That's going to end up being a +2 times x minus 3. So if we factor this out here, we'll say a x plus 2 x minus 3. And so I'm really looking for that a. So what I want to do is I want to find a point here. So let's just find a point on the graph. Okay, let's just say 2, 2. So let's just plug in our 2 for the f of x, and we'll say our x is 2. And what that's going to do is that's going to eliminate everything except for that a, which is what I'm looking for. So if we factor this out, we'll see 2a, that's going to be 4, and that's going to be -1. So we've got 2 equals, we got that -4, so that's -4a. So really that's going to be a equals -1/2. Now, how do we turn this into our standard form right here? Well, what we do is we put it back in. We say f of x equals, now we know it's -1/2, and we plug it right back into here, right? X, and we know that's a +4, x minus 3, and now we factor that out to get the standard form. When it's all said and done, we get this standard form here. F of x equals -1/2 x squared minus 1/2 x plus 6. Now what happens when we don't have a graph? Sometimes we'll get simply a statement that says the solutions to f of x equals 0 are, and then we'll get two x values. So all we know is that we've got a parabola here. We've got x of 4 and x of 8, and we know that it's passing through those two. We don't know whether it's facing up or facing down, but that's all we know. So what does that tell us? Well, if we use our factored form here, right, and if we say our u equals 4 and our v equals 8, we're just going to plug those in. And since we don't know what a is, we're just going to assume that a is 1. So what we're doing is we're coming up with one possible solution for this. We don't have an extra point on the parabola. We're not really going to be able to figure out much more than this. But what is one possible way to represent this? Well, we would plug in this, and then simply we're going to multiply the binomials here in order to get our standard form. Right? So we're going to FOIL this out here. So we've got our first, so that's x squared. And then we've got our outer, that's x and the -8 minus 8x. We've got the inner, we got the -4 and x minus 4x. And then we've got the last, -4 and -8. Right, and that's going to be a +32. So one way to possibly do this would be to say, well, f of x could equal x squared minus 12x plus 32, which would be a pretty standard. We're just going to kind of make it point up like that, and if we wanted it to point down, we could just multiply all of this by -1, and we can get the opposite.